Welcome to part 2 of my interview with Stasi Eldredge in Colorado Springs, Colorado. In this segment, we dive into the messiness of relationships. So what was the turning point? What was the moment that you learned how God really truly sees you? Because I know this is the whole message, you know, that teaching women how we were actually created, how we were designed, not how the world sees us or makes us out to be. But what was that moment that you learned how God sees you?
I would say it was when I went for a walk one night after a really particularly horrible day, which wouldn't want anybody looking in my windows seeing how I was as a mother that day. Yeah. And it was one of those evenings where it's like, darn it, I'm gone. I have to get out of here before something bad happens. Right. So going for a walk.
And no other woman's ever had one of those days besides you.
Right. I know. Yeah. So I can still picture it because it was a beautiful Colorado night, just crystal clear stars and just breathing, getting away, and then just talking to God. And then I had this moment of looking at the stars, and they were particularly stunning. And I just complimented him on the great work he had done, and just said, this is beautiful, good job.
Yeah, well done.
And I heard him in not like an audible, everybody else would have heard him, but I heard him inside my heart and my spirit. And I heard him say, I'm glad you like it, darling. What?
Wow.
What? I'd heard that God still speaks, of course he does.
Right.
But second, he called me darling. So is that okay for the God of the universe to call me that? So I heard it, I loved it.
Because in our mind, he only speaks to the people with the perfect packaged stories.
Yeah, and calls you darling.
And calls you darling.
Like child,
yes.
My little sheep. You hunk of clay, get on with it. No, he called me darling. And this was at the end of a terrible day. Yeah. That night, I went home, kind of like a secret, ooh. And then I went to bed, but before I did, I just picked up the word and flipped through, how you just open it sometimes, and it was this Song of Songs, and it said, how beautiful you are, my darling.
Wow.
So I knew that it was him.
Yeah.
And then I knew that at my weakest, my most broken, ugliest, he saw me as beautiful.
Wow.
Okay, that rocked my world.
That's huge. That's a game changer.
That's a game
right
changer.
There.
Yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful. Okay, so I want to change gears just for a minute. Maybe a little messy question. Quirky, complicated, beautiful, confusing, sometimes lonely, very hormonal beings called women. Why do you, Stasi Eldredge, think that it can be so difficult at times for women to be in relationship with each other?
Oh gosh, we have a history here.
Yeah.
It's not just men who are mean to women. Women are mean to women.
Yeah.
And it starts young. It starts on the playground. I have a friend whose little girl is in the 1st grade, and the things that are already happening with girls that are jealous of her, or think that we live in a fallen world. Yeah. And it's not just us. That's just so important for us to understand as human beings, as believers, that there is a third player on the scene.
Absolutely.
There's God, there's humans, and there's an enemy. And the enemy hates us.
Yeah.
So the hatred of women is massive, and it doesn't wait until you're 18. Or 21 or some age that you're now, whatever, you've crossed over some Rubicon. And so a lot of our stories have painful relationships with women. Mine does. Jesus knows betrayal.
Yeah.
So do we.
We forget that he knows betrayal. Right. Because he's Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
So we forget that it hurt him as deeply as it hurts us.
Absolutely. And
you're not betrayed by an enemy.
No.
That's how they're supposed to act.
Right.
Betrayal comes from the hand of someone that you know and love, and for most women, we have tasted that from women.
Because we grow up, we're little girls that hurt each other, then we grow up to be big girls that wound from our brokenness.
Yeah, and then we, pull back, withdraw. We're all on the road, but if you're getting a bunch of broken people together, and also who are wounded and horrible things happening, terrible things they're believing about themselves. Not the nicest words are going to come out of their mouths.
Right.
So it's really that's a big thing, because there's something in women that we walk into a room and we don't think about it.
Start sizing it up.
We know immediately.
Yeah.
Who do we consider to be the prettiest woman in the room? Who has the best outfit, figure, body? Where do I fit in the scale? And this, boom, done in a moment.
Yeah.
And
I'm running the other day and I'm listening to Becoming Myself.
Yes.
And I had to pause it right there, because I was like, wow, I was really convicted of my heart, realizing how much I do it subconsciously.
Yeah. It's not like we go in with our clipboard. It's but that comparison thing, I think, is really a tool in the hand of the enemy to divide us. There's never any life there.
No. My friend, she spoke on a session on comparisons, and she said, constantly comparing simply robs us of our joy. I was like, wow, we waste so much time.
Yeah.
Trying to do what we have no control over.
Right.
Yeah. So let's talk about Becoming Myself.
Okay.
Book. This is captivating. This was 15 years
2005,
ago?
I think.
2005. Wow. Which is a great book. Great starter, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Start here if you're not familiar. But this.
Thank you.
I've sort of titled it like Every Woman's Guide to Womanhood, or just being a girl with girl parts. Like, if you have girl parts, you need to read this. Did it take you this long to become yourself?
I'm still becoming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a few chapters in there where the first draft is literally 15 years old.
Wow.
So I've been living in it for a long
This
time.
whole book, the first draft?
3 of the chapters.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's culminating, it's kind of, our temptation is to rush to field. I know that's my temptation. I learned something, I want to offer it right away.
Yeah.
Well, that's really not God's way.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah, He really wants it to marinate and go deep, 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 deep.
And sometimes live it.
Live it a really long time.
A really long
because
time.
it's a thing, much more is required of teachers. If you're going to say it, get ready. I guess.
Yeah.
It's going to be opposed. Anyway.
Absolutely.
This was just a passion born out of my own walk with God and where He was taking me, what He was asking me to do and to step into, and my own inclination. And I share this with everyone. Life is hard and it's painful and we get hurt, and so we want to pull back.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
There's been many times where I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah. Check.
Yeah.
Give me the check.
That's why we pull back in friendships and relationships, or not trying any. We get hurt.
Yeah.
And then there's that verse like, but we are not those that shrink back. God doesn't want us to shrink back. He actually wants us to press into His heart and trust Him more and follow Him, not be foolish, not run jumping off any cliff we find, but really follow Him.
Yeah.
So from that passion and what He was doing in my own life and heart, and because of how I'm made, I wanted to bring it to others. Here's the other thing.
Yeah.
Jill, I really believe the hour is late.
Yeah.
And I don't think, it's really important that women across the world get free enough to rise up and offer what they're meant to offer, because we are needed.
Absolutely.
Desperately. And there's a fierceness and a valiancy to women.
Yeah.
There's a wisdom and a strength. The kingdom of God needs women.
Yeah.
So that's where the passion is born out of, is sisters.
Yes.
We got to throw off the chains. We got to throw off the lies. I'm not wanting to usurp men's authority and wanting us to take the place that God has given us so that we can bring the kingdom of God like we're meant to.
Absolutely.
I'm getting a little fiery about
That's
that.
okay. Because it takes every one of us.
It does. We all have a role to play, whether or not it's seen, because usually it's not.
Yeah.
And so then, we get diminished and all of that. That's a huge thing that comes against women. But we're needed. We're needed.
Yeah. And not to plant anything in your mind, but I'm sure you realize there are women that would look at somebody like yourself, Stasi Eldredge, and say, I I could never have her caliber of ministry or audience, so why bother?
I would just say, so what?
Yeah. We'll continue my interview with Stasi next time on Women, Body, Mind, Soul, and Spirit.